Good evening. Here we are again, trying to make the next video. And it's been more than 3 weeks. And I just published my new book, which I'm going to share with you. I just want to remind you that the first time that we met, I published that book, Culture of Wealth, which I spoke about. And whoever bought this book is welcome to send me an email, and then I will see if I can arrange for him a free copy of my new book. So we're going to try and share this lecture. And this is my new book. It's a natural philosophy book, which is called Going Wild, because I take a lot from the wild when I developed this philosophy. And of course, history and religion, as we know, most of the human condition can be assessed and learned from the history of human civilization. So my natural philosophy book is called Going Wild. If you want to buy it or to have a look at it, you just type on Amazon search Going Wild by Leon Perez. And like I said, if you bought my first book, send me an email and we're going to try and organize a free copy for you. So what's in that book on top of that beautiful line here, you know? So I'm going to just read for you what I wrote as like a synopsis. And then from there, we're going to continue to our normal lectures about human history and religion. And then I will show you what I'm going to do in the next videos. And there are fascinating things waiting for all of us. And then I'm sure you're going to enjoy all that is coming, what is going to come through. But let's speak about that book that I just published. It's my second book. And I hope to have a third one too, but let's see how it goes, because it's a lot of work. And I don't know, the rewards are not always that great. I mean, money-wise, but the reward satisfaction is great. And that's why I'm doing this, and I'm doing this video, even though it takes some effort, just because the satisfaction is really, really good about it. You know, you share things, you give people your ideas, and you know, hopefully it will help them in their life and with many things that they will do over a lifetime. So what I wrote in the book is this: through human history, religious processes and science, I developed a simple but deeply natural, but deeply thought of natural philosophy, which answers many life questions, whether personal or societal. Okay, that I wrote here on this page, but what I wrote in the book: answers to the lifelong questions of human existential purpose on planet Earth is the theme of this book. Questions such as, what is the purpose of our existence? And what drives our behavior as individuals within society? The book aims to answer all these questions and provide a deep understanding of the human condition. Many of these questions, which have baffled moral philosophers, thinkers, and religious leaders over millennia, will be answered with a new, practical, philosophical tool derived from the basic fundamentals of nature. After more than 50 years of observation, reading, and learning, the author uses his imaginative skills and vast education, which includes university degrees in biological sciences, chemical engineering, business administration, and law, and coupled with his research from his groundbreaking first book, Culture of Wealth, the author produces an all-natural philosophical theory, which is based on 3 basic principles, of which survival of an organism in nature is the first principle. The theory is explained in detail, and ample examples are given. From said examples, many life questions will be answered. Questions such as, what drives humans or any living organism for action? What basic natural processes makes people happy or sad? angry or jealous? How do we distinguish between good and bad, lies and truths? What drives us to belong and side up with different population groups such as social movements or political parties? The author continues to explain religious dynamics over the history of civilizations and even discussion about the existence or non-existence of a universal God and possible scenarios of the origins of belief. Then the author applies his natural philosophy theory to explain and analyze historical geopolitical movements and social settings such as capitalism, socialism, communism, dictatorship, and democracy. The theory is then also applied to explain the social phenomenon of governments and individuals, corruption, nepotism, and the general indifference of humans to other human suffering within all these social settings. Based on this philosophical theory and the many examples given, the author is convinced that people will be able to understand how to combat unwanted behaviors and improve their lives. From improving social interactions to combating obesity and other health ills such as addiction and unhealthy living. Finally, the author explains his personal outlook on life and the universe after writing his books. Complicated questions such as what is consciousness, how can terms such as free will, intuition, understanding, and imagination can be easily described and understood by this natural theory. The author then discussed the forces which can describe the universe which we live in and how these forces affect our lives. Is there such a phenomenon as creation, or is it just a continuous transformation of material and energy? How do we as living organisms combat the forces of life through our activities? DNA modification and the procreation activity. Finally, the author suggests a continuous discussion to improve the understanding of the human condition in order to benefit civilization. So, my friend told me, what is this thing? You're writing a book what, to answer everything? So I said to him, okay, I'm going to try. And this is okay. I can try and I can be wrong. And of course I'm wrong, like any other human that have been before me and will be after me. We all wrong, but we try to get facts and analyze them and get true things that will help us understand more and deeper. And then when we understand quite a few things in a very deep manner, we will be able to continue to higher things. So that's what I write here. Before we can understand celestial issues such as a God, I would think that it is necessary to try and understand the living human organism. Once this happens, we may be able to clarify some celestial issues. So, like I said before, and I read to you, my theory is based on 3 principles. And the following is my basic first principle. So this I took from the book. And my suggestion as the basis of the book was that from the moment of birth till the moment of death, humans, us, like any other organism, are continuously and constantly busy in survival actions. Each and every human action is like any other action from any other form of life on this earth, can be attributed to the need for survival of living organisms. So even now, when we are having this video and conversation, we actually striving to survive. Why? Because I'm giving you information, you're going to give me remarks and give me information back. And this is a human thing that we give information so that we can use this information later in our life in various ways, either for social things or for individual things like our relationships, our marriages, our children, and like I said, our work environment, many other things. So my natural philosophy is based on understanding history and religions coupled with biology and my life experience. What do I mean by that? As I told you, I was always fascinated by archaeology, history, and I read a lot and I analyzed a lot, and that's why you're going to enjoy when we start speaking more about the religions and the history of human civilizations and the ideas that came about. You will realize that from this history, we actually can learn a lot and understand the human condition. And once we understand that human condition, we can understand many other interesting things that are emanating from this. Okay, so, and then I say why. Why is that? Because human history and religions are intertwined, and they can explain the human condition till this day. Till this day. Now, I know religion, I'm agnostic, as you know, and but religion is still in people's mind because religion has impacted humans for thousands of years. It's almost like a part of our DNA makeup. And even after the advent of science and logic, religions still hold some place in people's minds. Even people who are thinking that they are complete atheists and so on. So, what religions do we have today? If we will start trying to look at it logically, what do we have? We not only have the traditional Abrahamic religions and atheists today, what is atheism? It's in effect a religion, which is based on a denial of a God. Because, you know, and then agnostics is also a religion, which I subscribe to in my book. Why? Because no one has superior knowledge about any kind of a God. And the religious people actually have inferior knowledge about everything because many of them don't know science. And then they try to argue with scriptures and so on against science, or trying to adjust the scriptures to say that science doesn't know and things like that. That's not true. So I would say that people who are today agnostics might have an edge on religious people, because religious people many times will try to tell you that they experience something, or they have like a spiritual experience and so on. Well, we all have spiritual experience, even if you are not religious. So anyhow, in the 20th century, we also had all the movements which were akin to religion in the previous century, like communism, fascism, Nazism, which was a race-based type ideology, socialism, which spread all over the world, and it's still prevalent in some countries. And then I would also claim that capitalism and, of course, socialism, as I say, and even more modern democracy movements such as liberalism and feminism are kind of religion. They all have a certain philosophy, and they have adherents and congregations and symbols and many things that characterize religion. They have slogans and other characteristics, like, and then many times whoever opposes them is like blasphemous. You know, if you do not support the feminism, oh, you're a chauvinist, you know, or you don't. We have now this thing with the Black Lives Matters. If you're not supporting, you are a racist. I mean, that's crazy, but that's how it is. It's the human conditions, and if you read my book, you'll understand why it is like that. You will understand. So in my lifetime, I was engaged in various fields and hobbies. Like I did many things, chess, and I did martial arts. I even did MMA and mathematics and engineering and law and many of these people, I've encountered so many people in my life, and many of these people are engaged in certain activities and they're immersed in them almost like mini religions. I mean, you go to the MMA, you will see the MMA, it's a community on its own. Many of them don't believe in, they believe just in fighting and MMA and you know. So I saw, I was sometimes, when I was in university, I joined some mathematicians. And, you know, if you go to mathematicians, they will always talk to you about different equations. And then and that's their life, you know, this theorem and these equations, and that's what they deal with. If you go to martial artists, which I was involved as well with them, and I've trained a lot in martial art when I was younger, they will talk to you about choke holds and arm bars, and they wouldn't talk to you about any mathematic equation. Anyhow, they usually, these people, not only, you can see not only that it's like they have their own religion, but they even look differently. They physically look different. I mean, the mathematician looks like skinny, you know, and the MMA person or the martial artist does not look like that. He's full of muscles and so on. And you know, I did some chess as well, and you know, the chess guys, they constantly will talk to you just about chess openings, in theory. And then I've been with legal guys. All they will talk to you is about legal issues, and they all the time try to catch lies, to catch up lies. And I can tell you, many of the legal, most of the legal people that I met are complete atheists. That's what they are, because they, I guess, because they've seen so much of the human conditions and so many lies, and I don't know what it is about, but the legal guys, maybe they use more logic. Of course, you'll find here and there people who have a little bit of what you call faith. I mean, I'm not saying that they don't have faith. I actually speak about they have some affinity to a religion and so on. Anyhow, the thing is, can we define religion? It is very difficult. And therefore, we need to observe it and analyze it. Because if you will go to any place to try and define it, there's many things about religion. It involves ethnicity, and it involves, um, you know, like groupings within certain ethnic groups. And it has symbols. It has, some of them have a mosque, some of them have a synagogue, some of them have a church. And you know, you have all these new ones like Scientologists and so on, and it's different. So they might have a certain figure, like we know the Christianity, which was the biggest, I think it's still the biggest denomination in religion, in Abrahamic religions, has Christ, and the Islamists have Muhammad. The Jews, maybe they have Moses, but they don't revere. They have a bit of a different philosophy, because they are not supposed to revere personalities. Although some of these sects have, of course, done that over the years, and well, Christianity probably started by some Jewish people, as we all know, and I will prove it, in fact. And then, yeah. So, but before monotheistic religions, they were composed of multiple gods, you know, other religions, and it always seemed like as though even with the polytheism, they always had a major god. Like in the Greek mythology, it was Zeus, and in the Babylonian mythology, it was Marduk. And then I will, when I will do my videos, and I will speak about monotheistic Abrahamic religions, because that's where I come from. And the advantage that I have is I know Hebrew, I know Greek, and I know the Bible, at least the Old Testament, and the New Testament I read quite a bit, but I do not know it very well. But I have many surprises for you, because the New Testament is actually a kind of a Hebrew written in Greek, and of course translated to English. And you will see that I'm going to approach it in a very different way when I deal with it. And I will put forward the good things, and of course the mythologies, and there's a lot of mythology as well, of course, in the Christian religion. Anyhow, but if we speak about monotheistic religions, one of the first recorded monotheistic religions you probably would know was the religion of the sun of Pharaoh Akhenaten. and his queen Nefertiti. Everybody knows Nefertiti. These are the pictures. And by the way, many times I take these pictures from Wikipedia or other sources for education purposes, because I'm not making any money here from, first of all, I don't have, it's a new channel and I don't have many subscribers as yet, and I'm still struggling to find out how to do it and how to market it. So I'm taking this for, just for demonstration for education purposes. So here is Mr. Pharaoh Akhenaten, and that's his beautiful wife Nefertiti, and they worship the sun. Well, the sun, but they said that Akhenaten is, some kind of a, I don't know if a proxy for the god of the sun, and that lasted about 17 years in ancient Egypt, and then afterwards they reverted to their polytheistic religion. Then we spoke about it before. Then came the Persian Empire, okay, that believed in light and fire, and hence they are, even today, they are labeled by the Sunni Islam as fire worshippers, something that is still within the Shia Islam, who their ancestors were Zoroastrian, because they have like things like walking on fire and rituals like that. But the Persian Empire was a very big empire, as you know. It controlled most of the Middle East, and this was supposed to be Zoroaster, and the king is again a proxy of sorry, this is not, that's the Zoroastrian symbol, but usually the king is portrayed, okay, as the proxy of their god. And again, they used to do fire. Fire was a main thing for them. And then we spoke about the other episode that after them came the Abrahamic religion, the first one, which is Judaism, and then that's the religion that I'm going to start talking about, which I already did on alphabet and the origins of Judaism. That's a video that I have in the repertoire of videos on my channel. You can have a look at it, but we're going to go in deeper into this. And why was it called Judaism? Because we know that when they returned from the exile of Babylon, they actually was only the tribe of Judah. So they say the first adherents of this religion come from the tribe of Judah. So they say that Judah remained because there was the Assyrian invasion, which destroyed Israel, and only the Judah tribe remained. And then when the Babylonians captured the Judah tribe, they exiled them to Babylon, and after 70 years, they returned to rebuild the temple and so on. And now, usually they symbolize, that's their symbol. Remember, we said every religion have a symbol, and they have a symbol, even though they do not attribute any significance to the symbol, because according to the Bible, you should not make a symbol for yourself, and you should not make a portrayal and so on. That's mainly in Judaism and carried through Islam. In Christianity, they did have a lot of symbols, and the apostles were portrayed, and Jesus is portrayed, and so they stopped following that particular command. And it's maybe not a commandment, but a law. But you remember we saw that's the Zoroastrians, they were worshiping the fire, because they said that the fire is the soul of Ha'or Mazda, which is the god, and fire, its soul, it was called Asha. Okay, So again, Judaism as well has probably taken a lot from the Zoroastrian, and we will look at it when we will start talking about the similarities between Judaism and the Zoroastrian religion. And like I said, the Judaism is a combination, I would think, of the Zoroastrian plus the Babylonian, because they were dwelling in Babylon. And when they came back to Judea, they were not the same people that went away from there. Many of the names were Babylonian names. Probably many of the people were mixed. They were Babylonians. So many times I will tell Jews, you know what, many of you are probably Babylonians. They'll say, what? No, we Jews, we were here. And you know, you've been 70, they say 70 years, but nobody can really count that, you know, it's like all written and then nobody knows exact chronology. It might have been 100 years, maybe even more. And after maybe 5 generations, I would say that the people who went there were not the people who went, I mean, the people that came from there were not the people that left. And we spoke about that one, you know, with the fact that in archaeology you find that the Judeans and the Israelites had multiple gods, and especially the male and female god. And then when they came back, they just had one god, because they just fell in line with the Zoroastrian of one god, and the one god became only a male god. And there's a coin, you know, a coin from that period, which on the coin it says Medinat Yehuda. Medina is a country. Just think about it. Medina in Islam is a city. Anyhow, so Medina Yehud. Yehud was Judea or Judah, and that's what they were. Okay, so the Judaism then as well has been developed after the Persian Empire. When the Greeks came in, they start getting all kinds of Hellenistic influences, and then they started developing the rabbinical Judaism, and it was during the Hellenistic and Roman occupations. And I don't now remember on top of my head, but I read it from some scholar that he equated the rabbinical system to similar to the Greek, where you had like a leader, like Plato, and you had his students. And same thing, you know, with the Judaism at that time of the Hellenistic era, they start having a rabbi, which is like a Plato or a Socrates, and they had his followers. And then they started developing their own philosophies, which eventually, if you think about it, it actually beat the Greek philosophy, because eventually the Roman Empire became a Christian, which is, I can't say it's a sect, because I don't think it was a sect. I will explain it later more in details, but it emanates from Judaism. So, like we said, they were absorbing the Greek philosophy and merging it within their own monotheistic philosophy. So, thereafter, sometime in the beginning of the 2nd century stems Christianity from Judaism and Greek culture. Now, I know I'm putting here a bold statement and I say 2nd century, and you will see when we will analyze it that it's very unlikely that Christianity was actually a religion in the 1st century. And I have some very, very compelling evidence within the Christian scriptures, and it's actually almost like a puzzle. And in order to solve that puzzle, you need to know Hebrew, you need to know a bit of Aramaic, which is close to Hebrew, you need to know Greek, and you need to know your biblical stories. The Old Testament is very important. You need to know Jewish history, and many of of the scholars, even professors and doctors, some of them might know it, but something is always lacking. And they couldn't find it. And it's very amazing for me that I found something very unique, which will prove that Christianity started probably from the 2nd century. In history, you can easily see it because the records of the Roman Empire about Christianity actually starts in the 2nd century. Now, there are a few records which speak about Paul in Rome, that he's been executed by Nero and so on, but many scholars believe this is an interpolation in order to backdate Christianity to the 1st century. And the backdating you saw already from my Islamic videos, backdating is everywhere. I mean, it started with Judaism, backdating themselves thousands of years back, so hundreds of years back, you know, Moses, Abraham, and so on. And it carried on with Christianity that I believe backdated themselves about 100 years back, as much as that. And then afterwards with Islam, that as well, backdating themselves as well, hundreds of years back, you know, and inventing stories along the line. So what do I have to say here about the Christianity? For now, you will have to take my word for it. Later, when we get to Christianity, people will get a shock from my new discoveries from within the Christian literature itself. And all are welcome to try and refute them, but I doubt they will be able to refute them. Yeah, I doubt that they will. After Christianity comes Islam, which according to my research starts as an Abrahamic adoption from the Arab tribes in and around the Middle East, and thereafter turns into Islam in Babylonia during the beginning of the 8th century. Now, when I say that, I speak about Jewish people or Jewish tribes, and it's not the Jewish tribes that Al-Bukhari talks about and so on. These are all fabrications. And I saw some of the other videos of the guy that did the first video with me on Babylonian Judaism and the origins of Islam. And he speaks about Abrahamists. Well, I can tell you there's no such thing as Abrahamists. And the fact that some people did circumcision does not make them adhere to Abraham, because circumcision is a very ancient thing that has been practiced in Egypt and all around it, and so many of the nations around Egypt were practicing circumcision long before Judaism. So, and they still practice it. And guess what? Even Christians, I mean, Eritrean and Ethiopian Christians are still practicing circumcision. Now, how would you explain that? And they've been practicing it for thousands of years. So, you know, to have circumcision does not automatically make you a Jew. There's many people who are not Jews that practice circumcision from the old times. Yeah. So when we will speak about the Islam, this is like a symbol of, okay, the green one is the Fatimid, but they all have the same, which is the moon and the star. And the symbol is called Hilal in Arabic. And the fingerprints of Judaism inside Islam are all over. Not only that we spoke about that the pillars of the religion are the same, and many of the customs are the same, or they've been changed a bit and so on. Many of the words come from Babylonian Aramaic, and even the Arabic language is a combination of Babylonian Aramaic and some Arab Bedouin languages. So, and then I would say Hilal, was it the Jewish Hillel Nasi? Okay, why? Because he was famed for observing and finalizing the Jewish lunisolar calendar. which he was all the time observing where the moon has a crescent and the times, and then he made what you call the Jewish. He finalized the Jewish lunisolar calendar, and he was even acknowledged by Emperor Julian the Apostate. That's an emperor that was in about 360 or something like that, 367. He tried to reverse the Roman Empire adaptation or adoption of Christianity, but he only lived for a few and a half years, but so he didn't manage to do that, and then Christianity stayed there and grew even more. So now, like I said, the symbol does not have any holiness attached to it by Islam, and it might be borrowed. This practice of not attaching any holiness to symbols must be borrowed from the ancient Judaism, which says in the Bible you must not adopt for yourself symbols and not make pictures. Pictures. Okay. Now, since modern Western society is mostly composed of the Abrahamic religion descendants, and I will start with Judaism, then Christianity origins, and then Islam, as per the order. Now, I know Judaism is a small religion, it is only 15 million people today, but believe it or not, the bigger religions like Christianity and Islam, when they came about and took over, they tried to erase the traces of Judaism within them. And what I'm going to do is I will show you, because the fingerprints and the traces are all over. It starts from the religious practices, like I said, in Islam and even in Christianity. It starts from the philosophy, like the Christian philosophy of thou shalt love your neighbor, is the famous philosophy of a very famous Talmudic rabbi, the Bet Hillel philosophy. And that's not the Hillel of the moon that we spoke about. That's a Hillel that comes hundreds of years before him. It's called Hillel the Elder. This one is a Hillel Nasi. Nasi means president because he was president of the Sanhedria, which was like the council of the Jewish people at that time. So I will start with the Judaism, and it's very important because, and this is a nice thing that I like, that one of the followers of my program said that he likes that I combine and I show where came what from. And that's how I'm going to show. How I'm going to show that a lot of the Christian things came from Judaism, and you will be amazed to find out where from. Like I said to you, there is a hidden puzzle within the New Testament, and nobody managed to crack it yet. And I don't know if I was just lucky or how I did it. When it will come to the fore, many things will be shattered. Okay, so that's what I say. You cannot understand later Abrahamic religions such as Christianity and Islam if you don't know and understand Judaism, because before Christianity and before Islam, Judaism was, I can't say a huge religion, but a big religion. And it went through into many geographical areas until Yemen and Africa and Asia. And it was there for a long time. And that's how it was. And if you do not understand Judaism properly, you will never be able to understand Islam and Christianity. Never. And that's the biggest mistake that people do. They have to understand Judaism and not shove it under the carpet and say, oh, yes, Judaism. No, it's not important. It's very important. Okay, and here I say again, why? Why about Judaism? Because a lot of the philosophical, theological principle and many linguistic terms are emanating from Judaism and the Hebrew language and the Babylonian Aramaic. And if you can't understand these things, you can't understand Christianity and you can't understand Islam. You can't. So I hope that I clarified my goals, and I hope to see you at the next video. And yes, so I just hope that everything was done nicely, and then we going to meet again. Have a good weekend, and send me your comments, send me your links, send me your ideas, and maybe you, please, if you can, speak to other people, try to get for us more subscribers. I just don't know. I'm battling with all this internet. I'm going to try my best, but you know, I'm I'm much older, and okay, the internet was in my time, but today all these YouTubes and the videos and the tags and the things, it's something new. And so any help I can get from anyone, please help, and then you will be rewarded. You'll be rewarded with nice, interesting videos that will, I hope, change your life. So bye bye and see you.